Picture this. You walk out of the office for the last time. Someone's handed you a card, maybe a bottle of wine, and you're driving home thinking about all the things you've gained. Time, freedom. No more alarm clock. But here's what nobody draws out for you on your last day of work. 5 things quietly disappear from your financial life. Things you've had for 20, 30, maybe 40 years. They don't fade away slowly. They vanish the moment your final payslip lands. And HMRC doesn't send you a letter explaining what just happened or how to replace it. Most retirement channels talk about what you gain. I want to draw out what you lose, because these 5 things were quietly protecting you from paying more tax than you needed to. And when they disappear, most people don't find out until a brown envelope from HMRC lands on the doormat. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly what's about to disappear, what it's worth in real pounds, and what to do about it before your last day of work, not after. Before I pick up the pen, quick disclaimer. I'm not an independent financial advisor, I'm not an accountant, and nothing in this video is regulated financial advice. These are educational examples based on current tax rules and publicly available HMRC and gov.uk information. Rates and allowances change, so always check current figures or speak to a qualified advisor for your own situation. I'm the person behind Retired UK, and this channel is built for one group specifically. UK retirees and pre-retirees in their late 50s and 60s who want to understand how HMRC actually works once the salary stops. Not the version your HR department gives you in your leaving pack. The real version, drawn out in plain English. If that's you, hit subscribe now, because next week's video is going to show you the exact point in the tax year to start drawing your pension to keep the most of it. Some of you are going to need to rethink your timeline after that one. Quick question before we start. Drop a comment right now. Are you already retired or still working? Just tell me retired or working. I read every single comment, and that split decides whether next week's deep dive is about prevention or damage control. 2 seconds. Do it now, then let's get into the 5 things. Thing number 1, HMRC takes away your automatic tax coordination. Let me draw this out. While you're working, your employer runs PAYE. Every month, tax comes off your salary automatically, calculated against your tax code, sent straight to HMRC. You never think about it. You never miss a payment. The system runs itself in the background. The day you retire, that neat single stream splits into several messy ones. You might have the state pension coming in on one side, a workplace or private pension on another, maybe some drawdown income, some savings interest, some dividends from shares. Each of these gets taxed separately, and here's the problem. None of them talk to each other properly, especially not in year 1. Your pension provider doesn't automatically know what your state pension is paying you. HMRC issues an emergency tax code the first time you take a flexible withdrawal from a pension, which can tax that first payment as if you're going to take that same amount every single month for the rest of the year. People who take a one-off lump sum from their pension pot often see 40 or even 45% of it disappear in tax on that first payment, even though their actual tax rate for the year is nowhere near that. Let me put real numbers on it. Say you take a one-off £12,000 withdrawal from your pension in month 1 of retirement. Under emergency tax, HMRC might assume you're getting £12,000 every month, which pushes you into higher rate tax instantly. Instead of the roughly £2,400 you'd actually owe, your provider could withhold £4,000 or more. That money isn't gone forever. You can claim it back using Form P55, P53Z, or P50Z, depending on your situation. But most people don't know these forms exist, and HMRC certainly doesn't send a note explaining it. I had a message last month from a viewer who retired in September. She took a chunk from her pension to clear her mortgage, on top of drawing her state pension for the first time. Between the emergency tax code and the interaction between 2 income streams, she was overtaxed by just over £2,600. She didn't find out until she checked her online tax account 4 months later. She got it back eventually, but she'd been giving HMRC an interest-free loan the whole time. Here's the specific fix. If you take a flexible lump sum from a pension, check your payslip from the pension provider straight away. If the tax code says something like 0T or BR applied on a month 1 basis, that's your signal you've likely been overtaxed. Don't wait for the annual reconciliation. File the relevant reclaim form on gov.uk within days, not months. And if you've got multiple income sources, use your personal tax account online to check that HMRC has an accurate combined picture, because the system is far better at coordinating one salary than it is at coordinating 4 different retirement income streams. Thing number 2. HMRC takes away up to £60,000 a year of pension tax shelter and shrinks it down to a fraction of that. While you're working, you can put up to £60,000 a year into a pension and get tax relief on it, as long as it doesn't exceed what you earn. Every pound you contribute effectively costs you less than £1, because basic rate taxpayers get 20% added back automatically, and higher rate taxpayers can claim back even more through self-assessment. That's real, meaningful shelter, sitting quietly in the background of your working life. The day you retire, 2 things can shrink that number dramatically. First, if you're no longer earning, your allowance drops to just £3,600 gross a year. That's a £2,880 contribution topped up with tax relief, from £60,000 down to £3,600. That's a gap of £56,400 a year of lost shelter. Second, and this is the one almost nobody explains properly, if you start flexibly drawing a taxable income from your pension, you trigger something called the Money Purchase Annual Allowance, the MPAA. The moment you take your first taxable withdrawal, your annual allowance for further pension contributions drops from £60,000 down to just £10,000 a year permanently for the rest of your life, even if you go back to work part-time afterwards. Let me draw out why that matters. Say you're 62, you retire, and 6 months later you pick up some consultancy work and want to keep building your pension pot with the tax relief. If you've already flexibly accessed your pension, you're capped at £10,000 a year instead of £60,000. That's £50,000 a year of shelter, gone permanently because of one early withdrawal decision. Here's the fix. Before you touch your pension flexibly, understand the difference between taking your tax-free lump sum up to 25%, which does not trigger the MPAA on its own, and taking a taxable income withdrawal, which does. If there's any chance you might want to keep contributing later, structure your first withdrawal carefully and get this checked before you touch a penny, because this is a one-way door. Thing number 3. HMRC takes away your employer's pension contributions. This one isn't a tax deduction. It's better than that. It's free money, quietly landing in your pension every single month, and it stops completely the day you leave. Say your employer matches your contributions up to 5% of a £35,000 salary. That's £1,750 a year that appeared in your pension without ever touching your bank account. Over your last 5 years of work, that's £8,750 in free contributions. With growth, closer to £10,000. Over 10 years, well over £20,000. The day you retire, that stream stops dead. There's no replacement. No employer equivalent for retirees. It exists only while you're on the payroll, and the moment you leave, it's gone for good. Now, some people use this as the reason to work an extra year or two, and for some of you, that's the right call. If your employer matches generously, staying an extra year for £1,750 to £2,000 of free money can genuinely be worth it. But here's the counter-argument, and it ties into everything I cover on this channel. Every extra year of work is also a year you're not doing a low-tax pension drawdown or ISA transfer while your income is lower. It's a year of national insurance still coming off your pay if you're under state pension age. It's a year your personal allowance is being used up by salary instead of being used efficiently against pension withdrawals. So, don't look at the match in isolation. Draw out the full picture salary, tax, national insurance, and lost planning opportunity before deciding the extra year is worth it. Thing number 4, HMRC takes away your salary sacrifice savings. This is the invisible one, which is exactly why it stings the most when it disappears. If your workplace offers salary sacrifice, most commonly for pension contributions, but sometimes for cycle to work schemes or electric car schemes too, you're giving up a slice of your gross salary in exchange for a benefit before tax and national insurance are even calculated. Say you sacrifice £3,000 a year into your pension through salary sacrifice. You save the income tax on it, but you also save employee national insurance, currently 8% for most earners, and in a lot of schemes your employer passes on some of their 13.8% employer national insurance saving too. Add it up, and that £3,000 sacrifice could be saving you £600 to £900 a year in combined tax and national insurance that you'd never see itemized anywhere, because it just quietly reduces your headline salary before anything else happens. The day you retire, salary sacrifice disappears entirely because there's no salary left to sacrifice. If you want to keep contributing to a pension after you stop work, remember you're capped at that £3,600 gross figure unless you've got other earnings, and you get tax relief on it, but you never get the national insurance saving again because national insurance isn't charged on pension or savings income in the first place. So, that particular layer of saving simply ceases to exist permanently the day you stop drawing a salary. The fix here is really about final year planning. In your last 1 or 2 years of work, if your employer offers salary sacrifice, make the absolute most of it, because you are using a mechanism that will never be available to you again once you retire. Every pound you root through salary sacrifice in your final working year is a pound that's cheaper than it will ever be again. Thing number 5. HMRC takes away your national insurance qualifying years. This is the one that quietly damages people's state pension without them ever realizing it happened. Every year you work and pay Class 1, national insurance, or get NI credits, counts as a qualifying year towards your state pension. Most people need 35 qualifying years to get the full new state pension, which is worth over £11,900 a year at current rates. If you retire early, say at 60, and you don't reach state pension age until 67, that's up to 7 years, where you might not be building any further qualifying years at all, unless you're claiming certain benefits that provide NI credits automatically. Each missing qualifying year can reduce your eventual state pension by roughly 1/35 of the full amount, which works out to a little over £340 a year for the rest of your life. Miss 3 years, and you could be looking at over £1,000 a year less state pension every single year you're retired, potentially for 20 or 30 years. That's not a one-off loss. That's a compounding permanent reduction to guaranteed inflation-linked income. Here's the good news, and it's the closest thing to a silver lining in this whole video. You can usually plug these gaps by paying voluntary Class 3 national insurance contributions. As of now, that's roughly £17 to £18 a week, so a full missing year costs somewhere around £900 to £950. Compare that to over £340 a year extra state pension for the rest of your life. And the payback period on filling a gap year is often under 3 years. After that, it's pure upside every year you're retired. The fix is this. Before you retire, or as soon as you do, check your national insurance record on your personal tax account on gov.uk. It takes 5 minutes and tells you exactly how many qualifying years you have and whether there are gaps worth filling. Do this before you finalize your retirement date, not 5 years into retirement when you've already missed the cheapest window to fill historical gaps. Now let's bring all 5 back to one board, because this is where the real picture comes together. While you're working, HMRC is quietly protecting you in 5 separate ways. PAYE keeps your tax coordinated automatically. Your pension allowance sits at up to £60,000 a year. Your employer is topping up your pension with free contributions. Salary sacrifice is shaving tax and national insurance off every pound you root through it. And every year you work is a year building towards your full state pension. The day you retire, all 5 can disappear at once, and HMRC doesn't adjust anything to compensate. The rules don't soften because you've stopped working. The thresholds stay exactly where they are. What changes is that the protections you'd built up over decades are suddenly gone. Let me put a combined figure on this, using a fairly typical example. Someone earning £35,000 with a 5% employer match, salary sacrificing £3,000 into their pension and working their final 3 years before state pension age. The employer contributions alone are worth around £1,750 a year. The salary sacrifice tax and national insurance saving is worth £600 to £900 a year. Filling one national insurance gap year is worth over £340 a year for the rest of their retirement. And avoiding an emergency tax overpayment on a first pension withdrawal can easily save £2,000 to £3,000 sitting with HMRC instead of in your bank account, even if it's only temporary. That's several £1,000s a year of protection quietly built up over a working life, all resting on decisions made in the final few years before retirement. Here's what I want you to actually do. 3 things, starting today. First, check your national insurance record on gov.uk this week and work out whether filling any gap years makes financial sense for you. Second, if you're planning any lump sum withdrawal from your pension, understand the difference between the tax-free portion and a taxable withdrawal. And know that a taxable withdrawal permanently caps your future pension contributions through the money purchase annual allowance. Third, if your employer offers salary sacrifice, use it as hard as you reasonably can in your final working years, because that particular saving disappears completely the day you retire and never comes back. Drop a comment and tell me which of these 5 surprised you the most, just the number 1 through 5. That tells me exactly what to draw out in more depth next time, and the most common answer becomes next week's full episode. If this helped you picture what's actually happening on your last day of work, hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, because next week I'm drawing out the exact point in the tax year to start your pension to keep the most of what you've built. See you in the next one.